The following tutorial is brought to you by WholeLoops.com.
It's production time. I'm Reid Stefan Realest Puppet in the game. Today, I'm sharing 5 secrets to saving money on your studio setup. We're talking about everything you need from scratch for beginners or things that you can upgrade over time as you grow from an intermediate to advanced level producer. Number 1, understand that you can make a project start to finish with just a laptop, your music software, and a pair of headphones or speakers. A lot of my work gets done in a studio with loads of options of analog sounds and effects, and all those help me make really cool stuff. But realistically, if I'm not able to also make really cool stuff on the go with my laptop just plugged into someone's sound system through the headphone jack, then I'm in big trouble. So don't ever think that you need any extra stuff to make music more than just your laptop, your music software of choice, and your headphones. And if you're not sure which music software is for you, I did a tutorial on that, and I'll put a link to that in the description. So for the complete beginners who clicked on this video and are looking for their very first music setup, my second major piece of advice is get as much used as possible, from the laptop to the interface to the microphone and beyond. Used is going to be your best friend because you're going to be getting gear for about half of retail cost just because it's been pre-owned. Now, if you're buying used, you're going to want to buy from a store that offers some sort of guarantee so that when your gear arrives, it's going to be what you expect in the condition that you're expecting it to be in. So for that, I buy everything off of Reverb. Everything that you see here in my studio was purchased used off of Reverb.com, with the exception of a couple items. But just to show you how far you really can go with the mentality of buying things used at a great price and selling your old gear for cash to upgrade, you really can put together an amazing studio affordably, and all of that is now possible for musicians thanks to Reverb.com. Number 3, if you don't have any budget at all for a recording setup, try recording a vocal with your iPhone. You'll find the recordings are surprisingly useful. In fact, even with this expensive vocal chain, I find myself recording vocal samples through my iPhone all the time just because of that bright, sharp vibe that the iPhone's processing gives it. But if you want to make some serious home recordings, this is where you're going to need to add a few more pieces of gear to your setup. For starters, you're going to want a condenser microphone. I like condenser microphones over dynamic microphones because they have a lot more clarity, which makes mixing pop vocals, rap vocals, any type of singing where the lyrics need to be really easy to understand. A condenser microphone is my mic of choice. They range anywhere from $100 and up, and I'll put some links in the description of mics that I love at different price points so you could see what I recommend that's in your price range. The next piece of gear that you're going to need is an interface, and this does a few things. It allows the mic to get plugged into your computer. It has a built-in preamp to amplify the microphone's signal, and it will also send the output of your computer to a pair of speakers at a much higher quality of sound than the headphone jack on a laptop. Interfaces can range anywhere from about $80 and up, and again, I'll put a list of different ones that I personally have used and love at different price points so you could see which recommendation of mine is in your budget. The final thing you're going to need for good home recordings is a room with some acoustic absorption hung up on the walls and ceilings. Instead of buying an expensive pre-made kit of panels, I chose to buy the raw acoustic absorption foam, wrap it in fabric, and just hang it off of my walls using some screws, and on the ceilings using some eye hooks and string. And to help the floor be a little bit less reflective, I went and found the thickest, heaviest rug I could possibly put down to cover as much floor space as possible in the studio to prevent reflections from coming between the floor and the ceiling.
Are you tired of searching through overused, low-quality vocal samples? Have you wasted days of your life mixing your embarrassing vocal recordings? Introducing the Organic Vocal Bundle, the complete collection of male and female samples, sauced up and ready to drop in your productions. The Organic Vocal Bundle is available now only at holoops.com.
Number 4. So you've got all your essential components set up, ready to record and produce. Where can you then invest in to take the next step to improve the quality of your recordings, the quality of your mixes, and the quality of your productions? And for that, you have VST plugins and software synths. Now, it's tough to save money on these without just stealing them off the internet, because these aren't really things that you can buy used. People aren't selling their license of Serum used. It's not really something you can do. The only plugins that I found that you can get at a great deal used is actually the UAD plugins, but you have to buy those with a piece of UAD gear, because when someone sells their UAD gear, they can sell their plugins with it, and usually people sell their plugins at about half of retail cost when they're selling it with a used piece of gear. And that's actually a little life hack on how I got about half of the UAD catalog for about $700 in the end. Now, UAD plugins are really on the high end of what mixing software costs. The best bang for your buck is really coming from Waves. So if you're on Reverb, you could get all your Waves plugins right there, or from waves.com. They always have plugins on sale for $30, which is really an insane deal considering how good they are. So if you're a beginner, check out the Waves catalog. And if you're an intermediate or advanced music producer looking for the best plugins money can buy, see if you can find a great deal on some used UAD plugins on reverb.com. My fifth and final secret for upgrading your studio over time is use some analog gear in your vocal chain. Plugins get you 90% of the way there at the moment. I have a feeling the next round of technology, analog gear, is going to be done, but at the moment, plugins get you about 90% of the way there, especially with their analog gear emulations, which is great considering how cheap they are and how easy they are to use in the context of music software. But for recording, there really isn't a total substitute other than buying some nice preamps, compressors, and EQs to run your mic through on the way in. So for those wondering, how can I get started with that? I say get yourself a preamp. By just using a dedicated preamp instead of the built-in ones in the interface, you are going to notice the most significant increase in quality out of any of these pieces of analog gear you invest in afterwards. If you're curious about preamps, again, I'll put a list of different preamps starting in the $500 and up range that you can run your microphone through that will give you amazing recordings to then put your plugins on and get even more amazing results. The next two pieces of gear in my vocal chain are an EQ and a compressor. And most of the time, I'm just using the EQ for the low cut knob because it gets rid of all the rumbly junk at the bassy end of the recordings that I didn't want in there anyways. And the next piece is the compressor, which is attenuating the loud parts of my voice as they go so that my signal when it comes into Ableton is nice and even. Now you may be wondering, aren't those things that you can do with plugins? Yes. Doesn't that mean that you're doing it to your vocals twice? Yes. I think double processing your vocals just sounds better. So if improving the quality of your vocal chain is something that you think will add a very valuable addition to your production, then check out the list of affordable preamps, EQs, and compressors that I've used and loved at different price points so you could see which recommendation of mine you can afford. Well, there you have it. I hope you found all the tricks and shortcuts in this studio setup guide useful. Again, I'd like to remind you of what I said earlier. The only things that you really need to make music are your laptop and your music software. All of these other things are just tools that make the process easier along the way. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time with another tutorial. Peace out.